Chris, I wanted to ask you about a little bit about your background, your childhood when you were growing up in Portland, because I grew up without a mother and Mike grew up without a father. I want to ask both of you really, when you grow up without a father, so when I grew up without a mother, I never really thought about it. Like I never thought about, oh, my friends have another person in their house and it's different. They get more support or whatever. Did you guys grow up feeling it because it's different being not having a male figure? To either.
That's funny. I didn't, but now that I have a 3, almost 4-year-old sitting inside that house and I'm dad, I find myself commonly thinking about what I missed, and how much I love being part of his life and being that father role model to him, and I realized looking back in hindsight that those moments that I have with him that I didn't have, a lot of those moments affected me deeply. Of course, at the time, I could have never put that together, but now I see the importance of having, both parents, access to both parents. And if you're real lucky this day and age, both parents may be even in the same house.
Yeah. What about you, Mike? Did you notice the absence when you were growing up?
I did notice it, but my childhood was, it was rough because my father had a massive stroke, ripped out of the house. He eventually died of heart attack. My mother was a stay-at-home mom, and then she was thrust into the workplace, working menial jobs, cleaning houses, and just like part-time. So she was working like 3 jobs, 3 shifts, let's say. She was never home. I give her credit for the amount of work she was putting in, but she couldn't make ends meet. So our heat was shut off, our electricity was shut off. We had no running water. Windows would break in the house and they wouldn't get fixed for years. We had a hole in our roof that would literally, when it would rain, it would leak into the back half of our house. And we built like a tarp to funnel it out the back of our house like a waterfall. So that's the way I grew up. And, I started working at 8 years old, cleaning boats. I was called a dock rat. I live at, on the marina, and I would make $2 a day working 3, 4, 5 hours so I could eat. So at 8 years old, 9 years old, I was completely in charge of feeding myself and buying food for myself and then buying food for my family. And man, my mother gave me work ethic, I do believe. Not having the father, I always felt an absence. I felt the void. But in many ways, I think I was able to channel that into positive. I had a few opportunities to go down the dark road. And I kind of dabbled my foot in, but it never stuck with me, whether it's through crime or through violence or through substance abuse. I always felt the responsibility to be the man of the house. I remember going around my neighborhood, grabbing sticks so I could build a fire in my dining room. We had this old defunct fireplace so I could put heat in my house for my sisters and my younger brother. So I think it wouldn't be ideal. Now, just like Chris, I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. I have 2 daughters. And not having a father, I think, has dramatically improved my ability to be a father and to be present and to be aware and to understand how many opportunities I have to instill in them things that I wish I had. And it's hard, though. And then you guys can all kind of maybe share that I have a tendency, I want to do everything for my daughters. While I know that I can't, I have to allow them to be autonomous and independent and to fail. And I have to put them in positions where they will fail and dust themselves off and get back. And so I'm playing that role now, that tension of opposites, if you will. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't change anything personally, because that's my upbringing made me who I am and where I am. And I've been able to travel the world and meet these great people. And who knows, if I had a normal lifestyle, if I had a normal life, I think I'd be sitting behind a desk somewhere, writing clinical dietitian, feeding Ensures to, sick people in a hospital. And I would hate probably every moment of my day. That's what I think. I would have gone very Johnny traditional Americana, and I would probably be a miserable, successful person. So that's just my thought as I stand here now.
You commented on something really interesting, which is this. I've noticed that sometimes children that grow up with an overbearing father, especially father, will be introverted and less willing to risk mistakes because they always had that force behind them, that confidence force to be there with them. And once they get into college or whatever, they don't have that anymore. So, and sometimes I notice men who grow up without a father have that confidence that's built out of sometimes having to be the man of the household. But Chris, you had an elder brother, didn't you?
I did.
You did, right? So did that remove some of the feeling maybe of responsibility or like pressure off you a little bit?
No.
No, not at all.
Not at all. I'll tell you what though, Mike, what you just said is what you guys both just said, so interesting to me, being that this is, a question that I ask myself, now being a father, not being overbearing, allowing my child to fail. I want him to be hard, but I don't want him to be hard. I don't want him to be tough. Trying to find that balance, man, as a parent is a trip, because I know I'm pretty tough, and so I would imagine that I'll probably be a little tougher on him than mom, and, trying to find the balance there. But anyways, going back to, my older brother was, he was an asshole. So, I think, if you talk to him, he is the reason I'm a UFC fighter, was him beating me up all the time when I was little, and he was, we're good now. Our relationship is great. And even he will tell you, he was not a nice guy.
Interesting. So
he
you had that kind
of... pretty, once he turned, 12 or 13, he's only 18 months older than me. He was nice until we were, 10, 11. And then at 12, went through that shift and he became an asshole. And he was like that for the next, till I got out of the house.
And your mother, I heard in some of your interviews, worked as a bartender at that time, right?
Yeah, so my mom is an interesting story too. She certainly had her own set of baggage and her own rough childhood coming up, and now that I'm older, I look back and she did, I think, the best that she was capable of doing with my brother and I. But, she worked nights as a bartender. And if she wasn't working at the bar, that's where she was.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that, there wasn't any sort of really abuse in my house. It was just neglect. It was just there, we lived, when we lived on Mount Hood, it was, no food, no water. Sometimes no electricity sometimes in that house. And we had to fend for ourselves more or less. And then we moved to Portland, when we moved to Portland, it was kind of the same thing, drugs were a major factor in her story. And, making sure that I had a nice square dinner was not her priority, or that I was dressed and ready to go to school was not a priority. So I learned at an early age, I'd catch the bus, get off at Fred Meyer's, steal some clothes, steal some food, get back on the bus, go to school, and that's how I got through middle school and high school.